I believe it's been heavily researched that the human psyche, we are much more willing to forego gains in order to prevent loss. That is, we are willing to give up any pleasure that we may have doing something in order to prevent potentially getting hurt. That's just a part of the way human beings are wired, as our ancestors thousands and thousands of years ago. If they meet something that's going to hurt them, that one thing that could get them killed, be eaten by a tiger, but something that is pleasurable, say finding an apple, well, you can forego on that apple and perhaps you find it later. So that's what we have inherited from our ancestors from way back then, is getting eaten by a tiger versus finding an apple. We're much more willing to give up that apple to potentially avoid getting eaten by that tiger. So this type of mentality, it gets ingrained into everything, every facet of our lives, everything that we do on a day-to-day, week, month-to-month, year-to-year, decade-to-decade basis when we are doing and planning our whatever it is that we're doing. Career specifically. So, for example, some people, they may be pursuing something and there is no guarantee of success, because there never is. Oftentimes when you're doing something that is difficult, that is worthwhile, you don't know if it's going to work out or not. It's going to take a lot of patience. There's no guarantee that it's going to work out the way you want it to work out. So this fear of being eaten by the tiger, this adversity to pain, it's always like a bug in the back of our heads saying that maybe things won't work out and the worst possible scenario of getting eaten by a tiger is going to happen to us. We're going to lose our lives. That's the most base instinct that is still part of our lives today, which is why a lot of people, when they're pursuing something that is difficult, that is, they may or may not succeed, they are not completely there. They're not 100% completely invested in what it is that they're pursuing after, what it is that they're doing. There's always a what if that's hanging in the back of my mind. What if I hit a brick wall? What if I fall flat on my face? What if the worst possible thing can happen to me and I am humiliated in front of everyone that I know? I make a complete fool of myself and I lose my reputation. I lose all that I already have gained. I don't want to do that. I don't want to lose everything that I have gained already in my life in the pursuit of more. And this fear of losing what we have, or potentially what we can get, because of this being afraid of what the worst possible scenario, this can have many times a crippling effect on our ability to reach our full potential. Therefore, oftentimes a lot of people, when they're doing something that is, again, no guarantee that it's going to work, where they may fail, they'll have what's called something to fall back on, as in a plan that they can rely on if their current plan doesn't work. Now, of course, having a plan B makes sense many times, as things may not succeed and you still need to do something productive with your life. But there is a flaw in this way of thinking of having a plan to fall back on that I would like to discuss. So a person that always has a plan to fall back on as their, as it's put, something to retreat back to in case their current plan, the plan A, doesn't work. Well, it leads to a comforting feeling for this person that, for example, if what I'm doing right now doesn't work, well, I always have this other plan, and this puts me at ease. This gives me comfort, and this comfort breeds laziness. And what I mean by that, what I mean by comfort breeds laziness. Well, human nature, we like to do things that are familiar. As a quick sidetrack, oftentimes we're sitting somewhere, say in a classroom, we'd like to take the same seat again and again because it's familiar to us, it's comfortable, and it prevents us from going and seeing other things that potentially could be better. And this subconscious unwillingness to see something that is better is the laziness I'm referring to. When someone is comfortable, they start looking for something that could be potentially better, and that leads to a slothful way of life. And this slothfulness, this laziness, leads to someone that's already pursuing their plan A, but it is they're originally going after. If they already have that backup plan, this laziness leads to them not putting as much effort into what it is that they're doing already. Their plan A, they're thinking to themselves, this doesn't work out, I always have this. So I'm going to put less effort, I'm not going to give it my all, because I know that there's always something else that I can go back to if or when things don't work out for this current plan. I have a plan B to fall back on. So this prevents someone from potentially reaching their full, lack of better words, potential. As they're not giving their all to something, they are probably not going to reach their limits, and they're not going to push up against those limits and try to break through them. They're just going to stay within those comforting boundaries, that comfort zone of doing what it is that they already know, not giving their all to what it is that they're currently doing. And that in itself is a self-destructive behavior over the long term. Short term, it's very nice that you're still doing what it is that you're doing, just not as much. But it adds up, like compounding interest. It seems like just a penny, and then 2 pennies, and 4 pennies, and 8 pennies, and 16 pennies. Eventually becomes a whole heck of a lot over, not measured in months, maybe not even in years, but in decades. It's going to stunt your ability to reach the person that you could be if you gave it your all. So what can you do to counter this in order to be in mind, body, and spirit, conscious and unconscious, willing to give something your all? Well, it's not through this plan you fall back on, as we've previously discussed. This is going to give you this comfort, this laziness, this complacency of not doing your best in what it is you're currently doing. So instead, what I'm proposing is, in order for a person to reach their full potential, they don't have a plan to fall back on. They have a plan to fall forward on. And what do I mean by that? Well, your current plan, your plan A, you give it your all. You act as though you have no other option. This is your one shot of doing whatever it is that you're trying to do. You got one shot, you can either make it work or fall flat on your face. No retreat. Now, of course, life happens. Sometimes things don't work out. So what happens if things don't work out, even though you've given it your all, you don't put any thoughts into and having any backup plan to back you up? Well, that falling forward, what I'm referring to is if plan A doesn't work, well, you move on to something else, a different plan, a better plan. Think of it as a better plan. This didn't work out, well, I'm going to do something better then. Now, sometimes people may say, oh, I don't have a better plan. I didn't put any thought into doing something else. Well, what I would respond to, what I would refute to that argument of I don't have any better plans if I didn't put any thought into it previously when this plan failed, is that many times great opportunities start with humble beginnings. As it may be something very small right now, this new plan, but if you nurture that seed with water, care, and attention, blood, sweat, and tears. It can't be something greater than that previous plan you had that didn't work. But you never know that unless you go out there, you find that small opportunity, and you open the door, see what's behind it.